morning, everyone. Actually, it's not morning. It's more like afternoon, but I don't know what time it is. I'm really sleepy. I am in Australia now and currently in Alice Springs, about to set off for a couple of days in the desert. So I thought before I went, I would film a little Southeast Asian fabric haul for you. Now, I was really excited about going to Southeast Asia, partly because I've spent a lot of time in Malaysia in the past. It's a country I really love, but I've never actually had that much time for fabric shopping when I've been there before. And so I thought, now's the time, right? And I have bought quite a lot of stuff. So, probably without further ado, let's get started. So, first stop was Kota Kinabalu, which is in Borneo. It's in Sabah, and it's the northern part of the island of Borneo. And I was lucky enough, actually, that we had an amazing fabric shop directly opposite our hotel. So it was called Emadira, and it was this huge 4-storey bright pink building. And it was 4 floors of just unbelievably beautiful fabrics, very brightly coloured silks and really lovely light cotton and synthetic fabrics that in the sorts of colours and prints that you really don't find very often in the UK. So in Kota Kinabalu, I think I bought about 4 metres of different types of silk, one that's a bit heavier and then another that's a little bit lighter. And I mean, the prices were crazy. I think one of those was £2 a metre and another was somewhere between £3 and £5 a metre. So really good value. So this is my first purchase and may be familiar to those of you who watched my last video, which was the DIY sarong, and it's this. It's a digital print silk in kind of blue and pink and purple, and it's just beautiful. I mean, it's really light. It's great for the heat of the tropics, and it's so soft and lovely. And so this is actually my sarong version. Might show you a close-up of my dodgy stitches if you're lucky, but you can always look at my last video. I'll pop a link in the box below. But yeah, really beautiful fabric, this one. And of course, the beauty of making a garment like a sarong is you actually I haven't cut the fabric very much. So if I want to and I get home and I think I'm not going to wear a sarong anymore, I can undo all my crappy stitches and I've got 2 metres of silk to play with. So really love this, and it took me ages to pick one. They had so many beautiful digital prints in there, and this is just, I love it. So then the second lot that I bought is slightly different, much lighter than the first, and it was advertised as actually being machine washable silk, which I think is hilarious. We will test that and find out. But it's got this sort of dark blue, if you can see that very well, dark blue and green stripes in it, almost sort of ombre, kind of bleeding into each other, with then sort of leaf and flower designs within each colour stripe. Again, really beautiful. I bought 2 metres of that. I don't know what to do with it, but some of these are slightly louder than perhaps I would wear, but this I think is just lovely. I think maybe a dress or a beautiful top, something like that. If you have any thoughts, leave me a comment down below, because I just fell in love with this pattern and now I have to work out what to do with it. It's so nice. So that was Kota Kinabalu. I was trying to be really good, actually. I could have bought so much more because the prices were amazing, but I'm basically limited to 20 kilos of my luggage and 100 litres, and that has to last me for 3 months. So I have to be a bit careful with my shopping, not go too crazy. So only allowed a small amount from each place. So we then moved on to Kuala Lumpur, and fabric shopping there was actually quite a different experience, I thought, simply because I didn't find many places that sold fabric on the roll. They tend to sell it pre-cut in 1.5 to 2 metre lengths, and they call these sarong lengths. So the idea is you buy it and make it into a sarong. I bought mainly Batik fabrics because, well, they're everywhere for one thing, but also because they are this integral part of Malaysian fabric culture. And again, the same as Kota Kinabalu, really bright colours, really beautiful, the sort of things that you just don't see in the UK. So I got two of these really rather, it's quite heavyweight cotton. I'd say you could make a sort of a stiff shift dress out of this. I mean, it's got a fair amount of heft to it. It's not sort of necessarily light and floaty. Good for a nice sturdy sarong, but the print is just incredible. It's this sort of turquoisey green, deep turquoise green with orange and gold and blue details on it. And then, I'll turn it round, you've also got this slightly greyer green with, you can see this, but little sort of purple details within the stripes. There's just a lot going on in there, and I think it's absolutely stunning. Again, really loud for something to wear, but very possibly some, you know, I might use this to make sort of cushions or something like that, or yeah, it's really beautiful and bright. And also in a similar vein, I got this one, which is this gorgeous blue colour. Similar sort of thing, so with the flowers, leaves, lots of very intricate, beautiful details. I mean, really, really lovely. And in terms of price, they were more expensive than the things I was buying in Kota Kinabalu. Tended to be closer to what I would say were UK prices. I think it was about 25 ringgit, which is around £5 for 1.5 to 2 metre length. So getting on, still cheaper than the UK, but still getting on towards those kind of prices for cotton fabric. So after a few days in Kuala Lumpur, we moved on to Singapore, where we had a very short amount of time. We had like a couple of days before moving on to Australia. So I had one day to do some fabric shopping, and not even really one day, just like a couple of hours. So I would say big thanks first of all to Erin, lovely commenter on my blog, who recommended that I visit Arab Street in Singapore. It was really a blessing and a curse to get that recommendation, because Arab Street is pretty much entirely fabric shops the whole way along. There's just a mind-boggling selection of different things. Because I only had a short amount of time in the city, I went onto TripAdvisor, and the #1 shop that kept coming up again and again was one called Mahako Silk Shop. And everyone was saying, you know, it's absolutely amazing, the fabrics are beautiful, the selection's incredible, the staff are great. So I thought, all right, let's go try this one out. Interestingly, an impression that I got from chatting to the staff in the shop is that actually the vast majority of people buy fabric and then take it to a tailor and get a tailor to make up whatever they want. And so as soon as I actually said, well, you know, I'm going to turn what I'm buying into something myself, I'm going to sew a dress with this, I'm going to sew some trousers with this, whatever, suddenly they were just infinitely more friendly. They were, oh yes, well you see the tailoring costs are so expensive, and oh it's fantastic that you're learning to sew. And so what I bought, obviously the most important thing, this is probably my favourite buy of the whole trip, and it's this. I went a bit linen crazy in this shop because they had a gorgeous selection of cotton linens, and so this is again 2 meters. It's basically my fallback length for any fabric, of this amazing navy blue linen. And I don't know if you can see on the screen, but it's actually got a sort of purplish tinge to it as well. It's sort of, I don't know, I mean, I love navy blue anyway, and this just kind of sings from within with these lovely purple undertones. It's really lovely, and it's quite light as well. I think that's going to make a lovely weight dress for British summertime perhaps. It's quite stiff. I think it'll hold an interesting shape. So I'm really looking forward to playing with this, because it's just beautiful. It's really lovely. And then also for linens, I got something slightly different. Now it's this one. I think it looks a little bit washed out on the camera screen. Actually, it looks kind of grey. It's really a sort of lilac-y purple colour, but it's got a slight, I don't know what you call it, iridescence to it. So as you angle it and change the angle to the light, it gets darker or lighter. I have no idea what I'd make with this. At the moment, I'm thinking a pair of trousers, again, because it's quite a stiff fabric. So I think a sort of a simple pair of trousers, maybe even just like some drawstring trousers with a tapered leg, something like the Merchant & Mills 101 trouser, which I really want to make, I think would look amazing in this kind of linen fabric. So I think that's what's going to happen to this. Again, bit of an unusual one for me. I think the navy blue I will definitely wear. This one I'd be a little bit more nervous about, but quite excited to experiment and turn this into something. Finally, and maybe these don't really belong in this haul, but they are part and parcel of my sewing related shopping. If you've been following me on Instagram, you will know that I've made a couple of perhaps impractical impulse purchases while in Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. You could argue that because I'm travelling in the tropics, the last thing I need is a hoodie or a sweatshirt, and possibly the last thing I need is two. So Merchant & Mills, a UK independent pattern and fabric company, have collaborated with Uniqlo to produce a range of, I think it's mostly sweatshirts, there might be a bag in there as well, but with these really beautiful sewing designs on the front. And when you believe they're only available to buy in Asia, we don't know yet or if they're going to appear in the UK. So when I saw them in a Uniqlo in Kuala Lumpur, I kind of flipped out ever so slightly, and I bought this one, which says, ooh, knocking my glasses off, it's Merchant & Mills Specialist Tools, and then it has all these scissors on the front. It's amazing. I love it. I'm a scissor fiend. I'm currently travelling with 3 different pairs of scissors, so this is really quite appropriate for me. So you would have thought one sweatshirt enough for a woman travelling in the tropics, but no. Because when I arrived in Singapore, it was just before Chinese New Year, and all the stores are having their pre-Chinese New Year sales. And so what did I find in Uniqlo? Markdown. But this guy. So it says Merchant & Mills Rapid Repair Kit on the front, first aid for clothes, and it has a safety pin, and then it says scissors, thread, needles, pins, buttons, safety pins, tape measure, England at the bottom. And so this one actually has a hood. They're really lovely and cosy, and just not what you need when it's 77% humidity outside and 34 degrees. But I couldn't leave them behind. They're not available in the UK yet. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Plus, they're just lovely, and in aggressive air conditioning situations, they're absolutely perfect. So that's it for my fabric haul and other sewing related bits and bobs from Southeast Asia. I don't know how much more fabric shopping I'm going to do now that I'm in Australia. Obviously there's the mighty Chasuti in Melbourne and a few other stores in Melbourne that I really want to have a look at, but obviously whether I do any more shopping will depend a lot on the price, but also how much space there is in my bag. I may have to FedEx some things home to myself. So if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a little wee thumbs up. Or maybe if you're feeling daring, you hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to post videos every 2 weeks if I can. There'll be a mixture of different things, from handmade lookbooks to me just chatting like this. So we shall see how that goes, hopefully, and get something up fairly regularly. And if you are interested in seeing more sewing and travel shenanigans, you can always check out my blog, which is www.songofthestitch.com, and I'll put a link to that and all my other social media places in the info box below. So thank you so much for watching, and